Bismillah and welcome to another episode of The Bridge. Today we have a young brother, alhamdulillah, doing many beneficial things behind the scenes. Someone who's also doing video documentaries and presenting and many other things in that field. He's also a youth worker. He's a young man that's been through the system, learnt from his mistakes. And alhamdulillah, he is where he is today. Has many stories to tell us. So straight away we're going to get into it. Jazakumullah khair for coming, Bilal. I know you're coming from far as usual. And so straight into it, like we usually do with most of our attendees, we ask them, what's your background? Where was you born? Just the young ages, inshallah. Just get us through that.
Yeah. So I'm originally Nigerian.
Okay.
And I was born and raised here. So I've never been back home or anything like that. Grew up in the council estate like many of us. Single parent family. So just mum and my oldest brother, who's now like 43. And I'm
big
29.
age gap.
Yeah, therefore. So, I grew up in that household. We didn't have much, but made the most of what we did have. But of course, as you get older, you start to notice the difference of what you may have compared to others.
Where was this location, sorry?
Oh, so grew up in Brandon Estate. So that's like right next to Kennington. That's why some people just say Kennington. And next to Wharf Road, but also on the border of like near Miteswood Estate, so like Brixton.
Okay.
So it used to be
center of like all
exactly
three kind of
areas. So grew up around there, and
primary schools, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, went primary school around there also. So school was decent, was quite a good kid, smart I would say as well. And secondary school, went to Archbishop Tennyson's. So that's near Oval Station, near Vauxhall.
I'd go to that one.
I think he wanted to.
Yeah,
or something.
Oh, he wanted to go into it, and then
Is
they
that the
said
one that
you're
you wanted to
Muslim.
go into?
No, we was in the same school, so he got into that one.
Oh, he did get. There was
Yeah.
another one. He was saying they said you're Muslim or something.
Christian school or something. they
Oh,
said that you
Sacred
don't-
Heart.
Was it Sacred Heart?
yeah,
Okay. So he came to your school then.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So went to that school, and so that's an all-boys school. Done well in school, was good in like religious studies, art, maths I was fairly decent at as well. But yeah, the beginning stages, it was quite good, alhamdulillah.
By beginning stage, you're talking like year 7, year 8s.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
So before that, you didn't get into no delinquencies or no issues or no...
Nah, no like anything like social care or anything like that, or like little naughty stuff, but nothing major, nothing
No
like
arrest or anything like that.
Yeah, nah.
Because some of the people we've had, that's like they're saying where they had only the mum looking after them, there was issues of no one looking after them, so they were going to do whatever they wanted to do. Was that your case as well, where your mum wasn't around? That
So it was interesting because she was around, and I think there was a battle of her, and this is why it's quite important for the male figure to be there in the household as well, because she was trying to be sort of strict at times, but also lenient. It was hard for her to find a balance. So it was a lot of like protecting myself from outside what's going on with all the guys doing roll and all that sort of stuff. But I also at the same time, there would be me begging for my friends, like neighbours or whatnot, to knock on the door and ask my mum if I'm allowed to play out. And, that soft side kicking in for me to come out, probably coming home late at night, me sort of exploring more what's going on, but still, being good. Like, not, I wouldn't say I was bad from young or anything like that. It was okay,
There used to be a tradition in the Nigerian community, I'm talking about in Britain, that when a child reaches a certain age, especially just before secondary school or early secondary school, they send them back for a few years. 4 or 5 years in Nigeria.
Yeah.
It kind of like gets developed a certain character, a certain kind of like etiquette and manners, and then comes back. Well, it didn't happen with you, yeah?
Nah, it didn't. So I've got a few friends that it happened to. It would have been quite interesting, when I did sort of stay left, it would have been quite interesting to see, like, if I was given that opportunity, how things may have gone. But I think for friends that have, been shipped back home and stuff like that, I'll probably say like 60% of them, it worked out well.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is quite a good sort of not formula, but
Ratio.
method. Yeah, exactly. And then the 40% they come back and then they get excited about the area again. So
One of the things you mentioned earlier on, I think it was maybe year 8, possibly year 8, or 9, you're 13 years old, and you started looking into Islam. At that age, okay, you're still a kid. What made you become interested in Islam at that early age?
So it was a few things. So I had a few friends that were Muslim, but that wasn't really it. There was a Moroccan family that I grew up with, like sort of neighbours, and a few of the sons were like friends of mine. So they gave me a bit of dawah, sort of taught me about the deen here and there. And then, but around that time, like in school, like I mentioned about religious studies, I was, all these sort of work and stuff I was doing back home, questioning a lot about God, why is there evil in the world, that sort of thing, a lot of questions.
At that age, yeah?
Yeah, a lot of questions. So what actually happened was eventually after hearing from the Moroccan family, I said, you know what, like, let me just sort of understand a bit about the different faiths. And me being what was born Christian, really thinking about why do I have this sort of uncertainty with Christianity? What are the questions that I need to sort of get answers to? And so eventually, like one day I just went to this church like in Canberra. Like, I don't even know the name of the church and I never used to go there, but I just knocked on the door. The pastor answered and I said to him, oh, like, can I ask you some questions, please? So the guy was a bit confused, but he said, all right, cool, come in. So I came inside and had a list of questions. One of them was about, like, the Trinity, but I can't remember what the rest were. And I said, yeah, could you just sort of answer this and explain this for me? Which he did. But I left feeling, okay, you know what, that was decent, but I still don't feel fulfilled. And then I went to the masjid in Brixton, asked the same sort of questions. But it's like the minute I walked within the masjid, like just the presence alone was like overwhelming. Like I really felt like, wow, like this place feels special. So then I spoke to the imam there and asked the same questions, and the answers alone, like the amount of detail that he went into it and really trying to make me understand, it was just deep. So I went home, was reflecting on this, and then the following day I sort of said, you know what, I would only be a fool to not follow this way of life if I actually believe in this,
Mashallah.
you know.
And you were 13 at that time.
Yeah.
So would I say, I would be correct from what you said to say, look, you actually believe, some people, there was a generation that would say, look, okay, it was just a fashion thing.
Yeah.
We saw brothers taking shahada, we just dread, it was like, it looked good,
That's cool.
You actually believed in the principles of Islam, Allah, Prophet Muhammad, paradise, hellfire. Is that correct at that age?
Yeah, definitely. So I definitely believed in it. I saw that same family, flagged them down as they was driving past and said, yo, like, want to be Muslim, and alhamdulillah, that happened. So around that time, yes, there were people that were doing it for fashion, safety, whatever the reasons were, but I felt anyway that mine was quite sincere.
MashaAllah. And after that, you're still young, 13, how did you develop from that shahada? You're praying, you're fasting, you're learning, or was it, because you're young, I'm thinking at 13, there's distractions, there's so many distractions there. Yeah. What happened exactly after that?
So I told my mum, like I think the same day when I came, I said, yeah, I'm Muslim. She sort of just laughed. She didn't really take it serious. Well, I guess I should add in, so my mum was actually born Muslim and the rest of the family back home. But when she came to the country, she converted to a Christian. I'm not too sure why. So what happened was I was born Christian. I think my father was Christian as well. I don't have contact with him, so I'm not too sure. And so, yeah, when I told her, she was a bit shocked, but sort of laughed about it. But then she saw me come into the house wearing the kufi, praying the salah. Like, hanging around in Brixton.
I'm scared. She's scared. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you know what, she was, but
she'll be familiar with it.
Yeah, but the difficulty was during that time is when I started to sort of
get into the roads.
Exactly. So me and my friends from school hanging around in Angel Town, Miteswood Estate, and keeping up to sort of bad behaviour. So
was she connecting it to that?
Exactly.
She was.
Yeah, because like the head teacher, some of the teachers were quite confused and saying, "Look, is it because of the dean? That's why this is happening." But they didn't know. Look, I was young and there was a lot of exploring going on for me. So
that's one thing. Look, you know, sometimes you get so demonized, Harry. And if another guy was going to church and doing the same thing, then everybody says because of Christianity. The guy's a youngster. He's 30. He's a kid. Of course, he's still exploring. Yeah, he's become a Muslim. It doesn't mean overnight it's going to change everything. But they won't afford that to us, to the Muslim community, compared to others. Biasness and stuff.
Even today, we don't want to talk about things that's happening on the news, but there's someone will do an attack. As soon as the person has a Muslim sounding name, there's terrorism link here. They won't tell you what the terrorist link is. We know this guy's name is Muhammad and there's a terrorist link. That's all we know.
Yeah.
Jim would have killed another person 2 weeks ago. They don't say we believe this guy's an English and Anglo-Saxon. We believe his heritage is from, I don't know, what's that place, Scandinavia. They don't go into that.
Yeah.
They just say, murders happen by this name. Yeah. So there is this kind of biasness, even within a country. And some people get it, some people don't get it. Some people, if you tell them, you're biased, they'll think, no, I'm not. It's clearly linked to that. But if it was another kid that came to you and said, oh, they're doing it, you wouldn't link it to no religion whatsoever. You just say that person's a bad behavior. Do you understand?
It's true. It's true. So you would take them as the individual rather
there
than
you go. You wouldn't bring your biasness at the back of your brain into it and be like, oh, it's got to do with Islam. You understand?
So the mother was feeling, she was kind of like a bit worried now. Look, he's doing some actions which are wrong. Plus, he's become a Muslim. They might be linked.
Yeah.
What happened? How did it develop from there?
So, like, I was still trying to pray and stuff. So it was a lot of like me chilling in these estates, doing whatever, and then running to the masjid for that Maghrib or whatever it is, and coming back and and then eventually what happened was just naturally, like, as we got involved and was part of the gangs and having issues with other areas, what eventually happened was I went to prison for like being involved in now it's called county lines.
What age were you? How old were you then?
I think I started around 15, but I got arrested when I was 16. So this was just before my GCSEs.
Okay, so schooling basically went downhill, yeah?
Yeah. So the teachers were sort of looking at me confused about why am I sort of not really concentrating in school and that sort of thing. So they were very sort of upset.
And you had your kufi on school, you had your scarf, and you had your thobe, and they say...
not the fold, but the little scarf at lunchtime and all of that sort of stuff. So, so eventually, got arrested in Norwich, and then for like Class A drugs and stuff. And then, I done my first sentence in prison. So that was around 2008. It was in Ipswich. So there's a lot of confusion going on for me being in the area that I'm unaware of. People from like outside of London, new sort of cultures, that sort of thing. But in terms of the dean, that just went out of the window. Okay. Going to Jummah, pray, still doing Ramadan, but those are like, it's easy to do. But in terms of practicing day to day,
5 daily prayers and all that,
that was out of the window.
And how long did you spend in prison?
So that time it was a year, basically. And then I came out in 2009. And unfortunately, like, due to when you're a kid, you're coming out in your teens and stuff, people can gas you out, oh, you just touched road, you came out of prison, relating that to you being someone, that bad man, so on and so forth. So that put fuel into fire, me sort of continuing in my behaviours, girls being excited about that as well. And then like after 3 months, I went inside. The charge initially was for attempted murder.
Okay. Sorry, what year was that in now? You came out 2009, so...
Same year, after 3 months.
Same year, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what the charges dropped for that case?
So what happened was, my co-defendant and I was arrested for it, and then it was going to go to trial. But I just took a plea bargain. So for a lesser charge, GBH with intent. And then I served about 2 years in prison.
2 years straight, yeah?
Yeah. So I came out in 2011. But during that time again, Ramadan, Jummah. But now, like, the sort of mentality is very much more warped. So
About Islam, you mean?
Islam is straight, but then now, like, so, you know, when you're young and you're inside these places, especially depending on what prisons you are, it can involve, like, you going into other people's multi-faith rooms. So let's say, like, to the church or whatever, to try and find other people that you're after, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and then people coming to Jummah doing that similar thing as well. So it was very, like, I was just very jahil, long story short.
What would be your reasoning, you know, back then to say, look, my faith was weak or my deen was weak? What would be the reasoning you would say? Was it you didn't know? Was it knowledge? Was it lack of support? Was it friends? What was the reason from your part, your perspective?
I like to take a lot of self-accountability, but if I was to pinpoint some things, I guess just being in the wrong crowds or being, like, misguided, being in that sort of lifestyle, you know, doing road and stuff.
And was the crowd Muslim?
It's a mixture. Yeah, it was a mixture. But back then, like, it wasn't at the forefront of my mind all the time. Like, in terms of, is this person Muslim? Am I keeping, you know, with good company and that sort of thing? It's just me being with others that are sort of like myself in terms of doing all that badness and that sort of thing. So that was, I guess, the priority back then, just being around the group, the gang, that sort of thing, looking after each other and dealing with whatever we was dealing with. So
it's one point before, I think Abdul Latif wanted to ask some questions, but one point. So, you know, you mentioned our dad's same school, and of course, he's from Brixton as well. So, were you with him when he was part of the gas gang in Brixton?
Yeah, so we was a part of that. So so we all formed it together as a group, and then
Okay. Yeah.
When you look back to the roads today, like, do you think to yourself there was a time that you kind of chose the roads, or like a particular thing that made you choose the roads or whatever?
Yeah, I think after, I decided that way before even going to prison. But after coming out the first time, I said, yeah, this is me.
This is me, this is my path. But prior to that, even then though, was there, because your older brother, he's not on the roads.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I don't even think that guy's even lied before.
This is my point.
Yeah, honestly.
So why you?
I would put it down to different upbringings. So he grew up in Nigeria and came here, I think when he was like 13 or something like that. So he saw real poverty out there, struggles, walking past dead bodies, you know, on the way to school, that sort of thing. So the mentality is different, because when you're coming here, not for all children, but when you're coming to the UK now, opportunities, free school, so on and so forth, you know, you'll grab that with two hands and really cherish it and make the most of it, which is what he done. Whereas myself, you know, it's not the same experience, the same outlook. So you're looking at these things as, this is the norm. You think what you're going through is really that bad until when you get older and you compare it to others and you notice what's going on around the world, then you realise, okay, like you should be grateful.
So did you feel that you was poor, basically? Would you say at your age you thought, I'm poor, I need to get rich, or was that kind of a mindset?
Yeah, so like even if I take it back to school again, like year 7, year 8, it was a lot of similar story, selling sweets in the playground, that sort of thing. Like I said, I was good at art. So like there was a chance, there was me and like 2 other people where there was a chance that we could have possibly gone to the Brit school, which is a very good school to go to. And that was due to my art, but at the same time,
as in drawing or poetry and that kind of
no,
stuff?
not poetry, like painting, drawing, using oil pastels, so on and so forth. But then, you know, that sort of entrepreneur side kicked in of me sort of charging people, like if you didn't do your homework and your art lessons just after lunchtime, pay me X amount. If I've got to do it at home, pay me X amount. So then after a while, I was doing all these different people's homework for money, but it just became exhausting. And then you move on to stuff like weed and then so on and so forth. So it's quite clear when you look at that pattern that money was
the motive.
Yeah, because you're going into class, you're going into history, IT, all these things, but what you see as your current needs, these lessons are not bringing that for you. So you can't even, when they're talking to you about uni and all these stuff, you can't even see that far when there's needs that need to be catered for right now. So I would say money was a part of it, but you know, at the same time, I will add in that there was, you know, excitement being on the roads.
By excitement, what was it like? The team environment, the brotherhood, the respect,
the man them, yeah, exactly. Having each other's back through whatever's going on, that sort of thing. Even when you look at it, like being a kid, like I speak for myself anyway. They got to a point where I felt, all right, cool. It's either I'm going to be a footballer or some type of sport-related thing. Rap, which is what we done, but even then we didn't take it as serious as the kids now. And if it's not that, we're going to do road. So even when you think about like success as a little kid back then for many of us, you know, and you compare it to the kids that are good at school when they're even looking a bit lost, but they just listen to what mummy and daddy's saying, we're being able to go to the third option, do what you need to do, make a bit of money and feel like a man. You know, like, yeah, you can try and help mummy out with a bit of bills, or you've got your own back, you can protect yourself, and you've got the name on the roads and people respect it, or if they disrespect it, whatever happens. So, yeah, you're able to be something quickly, you know?
But even in that narrative itself is conditioned by the environment. Because if you go to another area, that would be classed as bummy. Like, why are you trying to be a gangster? Everyone here is trying to be rich and trying to do it in a legit way. But because an environment makes it look like that's cool. And but anyone that's respected or say well-known doesn't really shout against it or promote anything different. The whole community seems to kind of respect or fear the gangsters.
Yes.
You got what I'm trying to say to you? Yeah. So as if this is the group to be, because they're feared, they're respected, they got the money, and there's no one else that's also respected, feared, but is legit.
Exactly.
So this seems to be the cool club. Do you know, like in school, there's the cool group, and there's
the problem with that, though. So the community also become the problem then.
This is my point.
Yeah,
that's my point. That's exactly my point. That as a community, like when we speak about things, sometimes I'll say so-called drug dealers, yeah, they're allowed to do that because the community allows them to do that. You understand? If all the elders, strong, weak, whatever, came together and said, come off my stairs and move, and then they went to another stairs, come off my stairs and move, and everyone done that, no drug dealing. But because everyone's waiting for the police officer to come and do something, it ain't gonna happen, you understand? So sometimes the community need to stand up as a group and be able to say, no, that ain't gangster. Gangster is being a real dad, a real father, a real mom, and this is realness. Yeah. Anyone that wants to do gangster stuff, come out of our area. And if every area done that, they'll keep moving.
Also, you know, when the youngsters see, the elders are selling alcohol.
In the shops.
And that's all, it's like most of the off-license are Muslim run or something. So they're doing haram. You understand? But they're telling us not to do haram. So it needs to be collective. You know, you shun those, you know, off-licenses, you shun these youngsters, and you kind of like don't tolerate this. Say, look, this is impermissible in our community, we won't allow it. So I think that is the way forward. But going back to Bilal, you know, so that charge, you came out, you're now, I'm assuming you're about, what, 19?
So 19 when I came out? Yeah, 19. Yeah,
19. Yeah. So you've done a 2-year sentence, you've come at 19. Dean side again. What's happened? What's going through your mind now? You've taken Shahada at 13. Alhamdulillah, you believed. So you understood what it means. It's Allah, His messenger, His paradise, hellfire. I went to a church and stuff, and, that didn't really resonate with me. So I'm a Muslim. Now I'm mature. I'm becoming an adult. I'm 19. What's going through your mind about Islam and Iman at that particular time?
Initially, it wasn't really at the forefront of my mind again. So I came out from that the last prison I was at on that sentence without any support.
What year are we looking at? 2000 and...
That's 2011.
11, okay.
Yeah, 2011. I think it was like March. So what happened was, I came out. There wasn't any support. I was put in this like Bell hostel. And for those that don't know, that's just a hostel where it's monitored.
You didn't come back to Mum's house?
No, I wasn't allowed to. So they banned me from Southwark, Lambeth and Lewisham Borough.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was placed in like Beckenham. And I had to stay there for a period of time for several months. But in terms of like education, training, that sort of support, nothing was really like going on like that. And at the same time, I was still keeping up with what I was keeping up with. So for me, it was much more of a money focus until what happened was there was a brother that's a good friend of mine who was also at that hostel, and he just said to me, he looked at me and said, are you Muslim? And I said, yeah. And he said, do you pray? And I said, nah, I'm not going to pray. Same story like we said, I don't want to be a hypocrite if I'm doing this and so on and so forth. And then, he sort of noticed that I was not really going to listen to any lecturing or preaching. So he said to me, look, I can tell you're not going to hear me telling you to stop doing road and whatever. However, whatever you do, just make sure you at least pray. So I was there thinking, I don't know about all of that, man. That's a bit long.
It's the same brother who spoke to Ard Ads, because Ard Ads said the same thing, is it?
Yeah.
It's not the same brother, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's the same brother's friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Subhanallah.
I think he's talking about me in that one.
He's talking about you two Ard Ads.
Yeah.
That's what you told Ard Ads. Okay, mashallah.
So what happened was he said to me, look, just at least pray. And I said, nah, not really too sure. But we started chilling together a lot. So I'd follow him to different parts of London. We'll do activities together whenever I wasn't busy. But he would always stop off and say, oh, look, I'm just going to pray Asr or Maghrib quickly. Do you want to come in? I'll be like, nah, I'll just wait outside for you. So he would go in, pray, come out. And that would continue for a couple of weeks. And then eventually I said, I'm just acting like this waste man. I'm Muslim as well. I might as well just pray quickly and then we go.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. And so that happened. And then, of course, eventually, that's when I started praying, once a day, twice a day, so on and so forth, up to 5. I was struggling with Fajr a bit. But, and what happened is that my conscience started kicking in. So now when I'm about to do whatever I was doing illegally or harm to people, whatever, I would feel like, this is a bit bad what I'm about to do. I'll still continue with the act, but it's kicking in. Even after I've done it, it's still...
There's a guilt inside there.
Exactly.
That something ain't right.
But also, I was kind of doing loads of stuff to try and make money and nothing was really working. So I must have made dua one time saying, Allah, I don't understand. I'm trying to do this and that. Just make it work for me. If it was trapping, robbing or whatever, why is it not working? So you can see that's a backward mindset. But there was a lot of reflecting going on, especially speaking to that brother, a lot of talking. And I had that typical mindset of, I'm going to do road and then inshallah, I'm going to go to Hajj, wash away my sins, be an imam, and then I'm cool. That brother told me, listen, every road Muslim man has the same idea. That ain't going to work out. you know. So he gave me the reality. And then eventually I just said, you know, Allah, I can feel that you're going to put me inside prison again. I don't know what for. But if you do, I'm done. That's it.
Okay.
So then 2 weeks later, I was in the hostel. I had my chicken biryani, my Lucozade orange. I was in my flip-flops.
Ramadan or something, you bring it fast or something.
Yeah, so I was just chilling, and then the officers came in. They were struggling to say a name, like my Nigerian name. So I knew straight away, okay, yeah, cool. They talk about me. And they said, yeah, we're going to have to take you in for breaking license conditions, because they had reasons to believe that I entered in the boroughs when I shouldn't.
Okay, that's from the 2-year sentence that you've done.
Exactly,
You're
yeah.
still
The
on license from
conditions.
that. Okay.
Yeah. So they sent me back into prison.
You were still in 2011 now, yeah?
Exactly. So that's 5 months after being out.
Okay.
They said, yeah, go back to the Queen's house again. So I went in the police station. They said, oh, are you hungry? Do you want to eat anything? I said, no, just bring me the Quran.
Just bring my biryani, my lucas I left there, yeah?
You know what? They actually allowed me to try and finish that, you know. I took 2 more spoons.
Okay.
The food fell out.
The only food I'm going to have for a while. That's legit.
Yeah.
Save for the moment.
The food fell out my mouth.
Okay.
I said, look, just take me, man. It's not happening. But, I said, bring the Quran, started reading from the police station. Then once they put me into prison, continued reading. And honestly, like, my mindset was just different. Like, I felt free inside mentally. Like, it was weird because there was loads of, like, Muslims, non-Muslims coming up to me. Some of them recognised me from my past. So they were quite confused to see me, like, praying in my soul, the way I was acting,
MashaAllah.
not getting involved in certain things. But they were always saying, like, oh, like, why do you always seem happy? And I was just like, bro, I just feel like I can just walk to the shop. That's how free I feel. Like, I'm just so comfortable. And then what I was noticing was there was brothers that would come in and speak to me and sort of reveal what they're going through. Some of them telling me why they're scared to change, stuff like that. So I realised that I had a gift as a listener, because there was a lot of people just opening up to me. But yeah, that sentence, I done a year, and I used that time to really just sort of, get better with my tajweed, stuff like that. Just trying to practice better, prepare myself in the outside world.
One of the things that RA mentioned, his podcast, it was because he took Shahada in prison. 10-year sentence, M-charge. So he said Qadr. Allah, it was Qadr to be there and to take Shahada and come out as a Muslim. So same thing with you, to go back and then to improve your deen is Allah's wisdom and hikmah for that to happen for you to kind of then make those changes. But saying that in prisons, were you able to read the Quran?
I was. Now is a bit,
You learned it in prison?
Yeah.
Okay, from start, Alif Ba, ABC?
Yeah.
Okay.
But now is weak, but yeah, so I did learn that inside, just general knowledge.
What books did you read inside?
Sahih Bukhari.
All of it, yeah?
About 2 or 3 volumes.
Mashallah.
Yeah, I tapped out after that. But it was good. The Sirah.
All of it?
Yeah. And then I
lecture.
had the audio. One of the brothers, one of my good friends, he had the CD set.
Do you want the seed lecture?
Yeah. So, yeah, listening to that, I can't even remember, but a few different stuff, and like the different sects within Islam as well, and just understanding hadiths, like the sort of science behind it to an extent and things like that.
MashaAllah.
So I use that time to sort of, better my knowledge, but also get the necessary qualifications I needed on the outside. So,
what did you do inside in terms of qualifications?
IT, business, English, maths, because obviously I didn't have those GCSEs. I done the level 2 fitness instructing course. But what happened is that when they gave me a release date of when to come out, I still had about 2 weeks left of the course to finish. So I just told them, look, I'm not coming out until this course is done.
So you actually stayed the extra 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They allow you to do that.
Yeah, I think I had to sign some document or something like that, just in case I tried to sue them or something. I can't remember. But there was a bit of confusion. My solicitor was kind of like, look, just come home. But I said, look, I need to make sure I can get work, man. This is the reality, you know.
Most man would have been saying, yo, 1 week early, forget about 2 weeks. Like, what? I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Finished down the outside.
Yeah. If it was now, definitely I'm just going home. Yeah. But yeah, back then I understood this needs to get done.
So one thing, Malcolm X, rahimahullah, Malcolm X memorized the dictionary in prison. Memorized, all the A list of words up to Z, memorized the dictionary.
Oh my days.
Yeah, so that guy, that's why,
takes discipline. But then would you say, I have a conflict with prison. Would you say prison actually works then?
You know what's funny? In general, I would say no. They talk about rehabilitation, but when I look at it, I feel I could put a better strategy plan into how to rehabilitate people properly.
You wouldn't need a prison, you're saying?
Pardon me?
You wouldn't need a prison.
Obviously, you're still going to need it. Some people are catching mad cases, so you're still going to need it. But there's a lot of people in there where you can tell I've met people in there that have already said, listen, I'm going to come, when I come out, like I've met people where I've said to them, why do you never complain that you're inside? And they've told me, look, because when I come out, I'm going to do the same thing again. So I already know what my path is. I've got my grandma, my auntie. This guy's got his whole family all relying on him financially from a kid. So for him, it's just like, this is the norm. People like that, prison ain't going to help them. You're going to need much more sort of well thought about sort of plans, whether if it's sort of courses or whatever, for them to sort of switch their mindset and really think about the other opportunities in life.
Thing is, though, is you could say that about so many things. Education, as an example, are people really learning what they need to learn for life skills and so on? But at the same time, it's about what you do with it and what you make of it. So somebody can go to prison and learn the Quran, finish kind of like certain books, tajweed and the Seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. Others can waste their time. It also depends upon
the individual.
The individual, what they make of it. You come with courses, you done, business, IT, personal training. But how many people who do this?
Yeah, no, it's true, because I got two close friends. Three of them done degrees in jail. One of them got a first in like maths, technology, and science.
Degree.
He's doing his masters now. And the debt has been wiped clean, because I think the person that marked the dissertation said it's the best dissertation they've seen in like 10 years or something.
It's a Muslim brother.
Yeah, Muslim. Yeah, so
man.
It's true. It is about sort of utilising.
How you apply yourself.
Yeah. But during like lockdown, I've definitely heard from a lot of guys that I would say that have the mindset of, I'm going to come out and trap again, so on and so forth. Say, yeah, this time I'm done.
This is real prison now. No more coming out of your soul. Forget that.
I do know some brothers, they specialise in law, because they're reading the case. And they start doing research and stuff. Becoming lawyers, man.
I would say a similar thing. I would say prison, prison gives you what seclusion gives you. The Prophet ﷺ, he used to go to the mountains. You don't necessarily need to go to prison to get that.
Yeah.
You can go to the mountains, you can go away to the beach, you can go away to wherever and just be secluded, and it gives you time to think. What did you say? You went to police station. The first thing you got to police station, you said, what? Give me a book. Because I realised, look, I'm by myself again. It's going to be a hard time. It's time to be secluded again.
Hospital's another example as well. Hospital.
Again, you're in hospital, you start thinking about God, you're by yourself. This is my point. So I think prison, in essence, it would work like anywhere else works. But the problem with prison is, like you said, there's many other... It's like you can go in there as a robber and come out as a bank robber. You go in there as a stabber, you come out as a murderer. It also can lead to other things, because you meet so many different people with different ideas in the same place. Do you get what I'm trying to say to you?
Yeah,
so then it really comes down to you as an individual. Are you really going to be able to close your eyes off to everything else and still go on your path? Is very difficult.
Yeah,
you understand?
Like, even those that go inside, I don't think professionals enough sort of try to question or understand that individual, what led them to committing that crime. And then from that, okay, then we can understand what type of support he needs to not do it again. That sort of taking that person as a human being, that approach is not really practiced. It's more or less, your number is A4, whatever, go in yourself. That's it. So...
Okay, so you've come out, it's 2013 now?
No, 2012.
12,
yeah.
Okay. Case is done, sentence finished, you're not on license anymore?
License for like 2 months or 1 month.
2 months, okay. Yeah. I think he would ask about what did you do in terms of generally in life. I just want to ask about the deen side. So what, alhamdulillah, tajweed, Quran, seerah, those courses you done, but on the deen side, what did you do now from this 2012? How did you develop? Did you go back into gang life, road life?
No, that was done. Once I made that agreement with Allah, that's it. It was sorted. So in terms of deen, I was going into classes, meeting other like-minded brothers that have been in similar, circumstances as myself. Just keeping good brotherhood. I was still, with friends that were involved in stuff, but it wasn't to the extent of being with them every single day in terms of those that was still doing roads or whatever. So just making sure that I was around the good company, elders that can give me that knowledge as well. Was
that gas gang still around, or that kind of like?
You know what? Old 12, it was coming to an end. It was done. I think Old 12, 11, I think was like the final year. You would hear a few people still mention it, but in general, it faded out. Okay. Yeah.
Were you in touch with our dads at that time still?
Yeah. So I was still in touch with him and a few others that you don't know, because these were the people that were part of my close circle when involved. Because I think for a lot of people that are involved in gangs or whatnot, you start off as an early teen as being in a big group, and then conflict happens within the group, and then you fall off into smaller circles. But he was always one of the people that I was
smaller circle.
So yeah.
So it's something that we've had discussions in the past as well, brotherhood, Muslim unity. At that stage, how was it? I always mention some of the other brothers, guests that have come on the podcast, generation before you and the generation before that, how it used to be. Especially my generation in South London, any Muslim that you come across, even if you don't know, there's a level of love and brotherhood. That kind of like remained in the second generation, but then a third generation came and it got mixed up. So like, let's say gas gang, there's Muslims in there and non-Muslims, but you know what? There will be no issue. I think our dads were saying that they wouldn't even think of somebody, he's like on the opposition side, whether he's Muslim. It's just like it's beef.
It was proper diversity.
Yeah. Nobody would even care about being a Muslim or not Muslim. What was you've come out now more on deen. Did you have that concept of, look, Muslims fine, there's kind of like a red line, certain things we can't do. And not to say, look, you're going to harm non-Muslims, but one of the cameraman brothers, he was telling me, look, first thing, let's fix our house within the Muslims, and then inshallah, we outreach others, non-Muslims. What was your take at that time?
So I guess in terms of like that mentality of you're Muslim, so we ain't got a problem with you, I've come out completely like, you know what, in general, like, I know some people still got issues with me, but I'm not going out to oppress people. So full stop, it was just, that was Christian, Muslim, whatever. And so with the Muslims, obviously when you practice more of it, these people are your brothers, it's the Ummah. So you may sort of prioritize them in terms of help, helping one another feasibility there. But yeah, in terms of that sort of separation, no, that wasn't the case. But I would say, because that era you're talking about of the older lot, like from my perspective, we didn't really have it, but we still managed to see it. So therefore, like, when we was like 14, 15, 16, it was kind of gone. But around 14, 15, there would be those that'll be like, oh, don't rob that school kid because he's Muslim or whatever. So it was lingering here and there within like bricks and stuff. But yeah, you're right. That was the generations before. That was more their era where...
I mean, the view is to get the wrong message. I mean, it's not saying, look, it's okay to do that to non-Muslims.
Yeah, of course.
Oppression is oppression. It's impermissible to anybody. But that sense of loyalty between Muslims, to start off with that and then work towards others. So a point on that, Bilal, and we've had these discussions. Muslim wrongs you. Yeah. How would you, and then that, brother or brothers come back to you and say to you, okay, we're sorry, we're calling it a day. How do you deal with that? Because I always go back, subhanAllah, when I read the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ,
awesome.
Of course, we're not good enough to be in their company, but I visualize it as I'm sitting on the side. So I'm reading the seerah and I'm like a bystander on the side and seeing those battles, seeing the brotherhood, seeing the sisterhood, seeing the Sahaba with the Prophet, those same companions that were trying to kill. They came to fight and to kill the Messenger of Allah. Those same companions later on, year 2, 3 years, 4 years later down the line, Khalid bin Walid, Umar really early on, they've accepted Islam and changed. And the Prophet is like, it's no issue. It's gone completely. You are my companions now. And, I'll support you, you support me, and it's that.
Yeah.
What would you say in your case?
So, I would say, are you asking for advice from brothers or me?
You specifically.
All right, on a serious note, for the majority of brothers, so you know what was interesting? When I came out in 2012, I went through a phase for a few months where I was going to Muslims, non-Muslims, whatever, and ask them forgiveness for the sake of Allah, because I was really thinking about Judgment Day, that sort of thing, and what's going to happen. Yeah, so it was to everybody. Like, I was just trying to get in contact with them, say, look, can you forgive me? That sort of thing. Some people I was quite surprised. I was like, yeah, like whatever we had, that was old school. Whatever you done, that was early teens, man. Like, why are you even asking that?
Mashallah.
But obviously some of them that were Muslim didn't really get why I would go out my way to sort of ask for that. But yeah, there was definitely, some people that we've had issues with, and like some that I was quite surprised that got in contact with me. So I remember there was a brother in prison where some things happened and like he got put on the phone with another brother and was just talking to me casually, just saying, oh, how Yaki, that sort of thing. I know what you done to me, so on and so forth, but I don't care. We're Muslim now. I know you're practicing, you're much more peaceful, so on and so forth. And, there was some people that I had seen that I thought, you know what, cool, whatever's happened, is what it is in the past. But, there is maybe one or two that, if I'm being honest, where it's been difficult to have a proper conversation with. But I've definitely got it in myself to say, you know what, there's no issues if I see that person, but speaking to them is a total different thing. But yeah, so that definitely came into play into other people and myself trying to practice that.
One point on that, just before Abdul Latif comes in. So, people misinterpreted the Prophet ﷺ, his interaction with, let's say, Wahshi. So Wahshi was the one that killed Hamza. Yeah. So Wahshi accepted Islam after that. And the Messenger of Allah welcomed him. But his love and loyalty to Hamza. Remember, Hamza was, if you read about Hamza, this was the Prophet ﷺ's like close. Not only was he his uncle, similar age, but they were brothers through breastfeeding. And when he became a Muslim, from the early stages in Mecca to Badr, he was like, I'm there for you, for Allah and His Messenger. I remember coming across where in the Battle of Badr, when the duel was supposed to take place. So I think it was Umayyah bin Khalaf who said, look, the Prophet put some people forward, and Hamza being one of them. Who is this? He said, I'm Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib. I'm the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, and I am Asadullah. I'm the lion of Allah and His Messenger. Yeah, for Allah and His Messenger, I'm a lion. That's all he done. So when Wahshi done this, the Prophet of course was hurt. Yeah, he was so hurt that when people were crying for the shuhada of Uhud, so not in Badr, that was in Badr that he done, but he was killed in Uhud, in the Battle of Uhud. When the people were crying in the Battle of Uhud, the Prophet said, look, but you're not crying for my uncle. He was still hurt. So when Wahshi accepted Islam, all the Prophet said to him, look, I've accepted you, you're a Muslim, you're part of us, but look, I would prefer not to see you. Yeah? Wahshi then took part in the battles against, I think, Musaylama and so on. So some people use it to say, look, you know what, if I don't want to chat to no one, I don't want to chat, I think that's kind of like a wrong scenario. Because, you know, here is the Prophet and Hamza saying this now, Bilal, or your perspective. So would you say, look, to really kind of like have that brotherhood, the heart needs to be completely clean about another brother or another sister or another Muslim. But my question to you would be, how would you resolve that in yourself? And this is an advice to others. How would you advise other brothers and sisters who have maybe that in their heart?
I think it's really, you know, reading stories like what you've mentioned and other stories during the Sahaba times as well, where you would think within those scenarios, someone would just be like, you know, I still don't want to speak to him, or I still want to seek my revenge. But understanding from their point of view was much more about the brotherhood and understanding like this is my brother now. You know, there's levels to this. This, whatever beef or whatever he had, really and truly, what was the issues around it? Was it some jahil stuff, some stuff to do with roles, some stuff that it's not even to do with the deen, you know? Because really and truly, we're meant to have love for one another. You see it with families, maybe not all families, but families have issues. The most, you know, maddest things happens, but they're still able to sort of, you know, get along with each other after years down the line or whatever that may be. So I guess my advice would definitely be to, obviously you can't force it. Definitely come closer to Allah, because the more you practice, the more you sort of love Allah, you will definitely be able to do much more things for the sake of Allah as well. You know, and understanding this is just part of who we are and what we should be doing. But it's a big trial, you know, it's a big thing to get over. So I understand if people struggle with it, but I guess it's just about having that patience and constantly working on sort of opening your heart a bit more, you know.
I'll finish up with one thing, you know, just remind me of why I'm kind of like a bit passionate maybe about that, let's say brotherhood, Muslim brotherhood and unity, because I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it kind of like in action and how Muslims observed it at a certain stage in London, especially in South London. I remember working in a shop actually in North Peckham Estate. That time, so I'm like teenager. Every single shop.
What year was this, Simon?
Don't answer those questions.
Yeah, I'm trying to know as well.
2001 actually, when I was a teenager.
Sure, it was called Peckham.
Yeah. Naam, I'm going to call it Naam, yeah? So anyway, in row of shops, the only shop that could open is a Muslim shop. Everybody on the estate called it the Muslim shop. One of the brothers, he done graffiti inside, so it's a large wall, he's put La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, Arabic and English. This is like early, I'm not going to see the dates, But anyway, brothers who open a shop, Jamaican brothers. They tried to rob, and this is an era of the Yardi gangsters, tried to rob the shop once, and they got driven out. And the unity, all the brothers rallied against, those who were trying to rob the shop. The estate, everybody respected the shop. The Muslims were united. So I've seen that, akhi. And that's all. Then when I see it now, it's confusing to me. And then, the Prophet said it, akhi. He said, look, al-jama'atu rahmah. When you have togetherness, that's a mercy from Allah. Wal-furqatu adhab. When you have division, that's like a punishment from Allah. So because I've seen that, sometimes, I get passionate about these Muslim unity and the brotherhood and the sister that we need to kind of like have, inshallah.
Yeah, no, it's important. Like I've got friends that I'm quite surprised at how we managed to be friends during our conflict. And these are close people. These are people that they can call me right now and say, look, I'm in need. Like I need some financial help, whatever it may be. And I've got them. I'll get them straight away and give them whatever support I can. So it is definitely important. I agree.
And what I would add to with regards to the brotherhood thing is, for me, 'Cause I got a few stories in my head, but one of the poignant ones that links to kind of overcoming issues of the past is we used to have problems with Cherry Orchard. Proper, like...
Cherry Estate?
Yeah, Cherry. They used to call them Cherry Boys. Or it's just an estate in Charlton. And back and forth. You catch one of them, beat wherever at them, they'll catch one or whatever, and they'll do it. So it was like, if you see each other is on side, there's no talking. And who are you? And you know what I mean? So on this particular person, even on the outside, like proper got a beating or whatever, and then he kind of stabbed someone. And then in prison, we saw each other. As soon as we saw each other, it was gotten into it. No talking, just straight into it. So obviously in that sentence, I started to practice and all of that kind of stuff. So by the time I've come out of prison, I've fully washed off the streets. There was no one can tell me come back. It was just, I've left it. I've locked off probably 95% of everyone I knew. And it was just my path and that's it. I'm not talking to anyone. If I see you, I see you. It is where it is.
Mashallah.
So this one brother, I've come to the mosque. I think I was on road for probably 3 days. Probably 3 days, literally. I come out of Salah. I was in the front row. I finished Salah. I turn around as I'm walking out. I see him like probably finish Salah but standing up. I never knew he was Muslim.
Same guy that was in prison.
Same guy that just in prison. Probably a year and a half ago, we saw each other and it was a fight. He's come up, but he's looked at me and I've looked at him. But there's this sense of we kind of know we both changed. And no talking, no nothing. We just went to each other and hugged. We didn't say like, what happened to you? How come you changed? I didn't even ask him, did you change? He didn't ask me, did I change? There was just this sense of, I know I've changed. So I know I'm not going to go and do him anything. And he's kind of sensed it because he knows me from the past. And obviously I've sensed he's seen me but ain't done nothing. So I know you ain't on nothing. Just like, we just hugged it out. How are you? It's a long time. Good to see you. You're Muslim? Yeah, oh, bro. Yeah. We just chatting for like 5-10 minutes in the mosque. And that's how we left it. So for me, part of that brotherhood is sincerity, man. You know, like you're just sincerely on a new path. And anyone that I've hurt in the past sincerely, I have nothing towards you, nor do I wish any ill of you, because when I hurt you or when you hurt me, it was for the wrong reasons anyway. You understand? And you know the other stories I have from other guys who was in prison with. So you have to be sincere. If you're not sincere, then, you know, it's always going to be half-hearted. But if you're sincere, even if you're sincere and the other person isn't sincere, the fact that you're sincere, the other things will come to pass. You understand? And even in the Quran, I'm sure there's a verse, I forget the exact meaning of it, but it goes as like when Jannah Day comes, those people who used to have issues together, there will be a spring that they will drink from, and it will wash away whatever kind of anger or envy or whatever badness they had between them. Do you know what I mean? So there is this level of, on earth, you're not going to be best friends with everyone, of course. You understand? Even Muslims between each other, you ain't going to be best friends, but you can have mutual respect and manners between each other. Do you get what I'm trying to say to you? And Allah recognizes that by saying that on that day, whoever had those issues, that the spring will wash that away from them. You know what I mean? So
I think it's stuff like that as men, especially to be honest, it's not even just road. You could have been going to war, whatever it is. But when there's differences, I think it's stuff like that that really tests our iman and how much we actually love Allah, because it's a big, you know, we're talking about ego, pride, you know. So yeah, I completely agree with you.
Just one point on that, Bilal, you know, the era of like these ends against these ends and so on, so Peckham and Brixton, has that gone completely?
Yeah, so
from the hearts I'm talking about.
You know what happened, Aki, is that like the Brixton, not the part that I was with when we was having issues with Peckham and stuff. And naturally, what happens with a lot of gangs, and this is what I share with some of the young people, is that you have the period where you're going at it, and then there's a period where there's this conflict amongst each other, and you no longer even care about each other. So there's even some people from Peckham I'm actually cool with now. Okay. Like they could call my phone, or if I bump into them, we could speak for a little bit. And then there may be some individuals that some people just still don't like till now. But in terms of the whole this gang and that gang, Brixton against Peckham, no, that finished time ago. I think now even some of the areas in terms of the new generation, they're sort of connected with each other now. Okay, so,
You know, the funny thing is, a lot of that even dies down in prison. People will think in prison it actually goes crazy and they start... Some do, that there are some hard-headed guys that maybe someone's died and you can't really wash that away. But I think you'd find a majority of so-called gangs, in prison, that especially if you're doing a decent amount of years,
That's
4
what
years,
it is.
5
Yeah,
years.
this is
Yeah, I'm gonna see you in how many prisons. Every time we're not gonna keep getting blocked. Do you know what I mean? There's this kind of let's just be cool, and then maybe slowly, you know, as they say, real recognize rule kind of statement. You start to become friends. So sometimes you see people from the other area that maybe one time shot at you, you shot at him, you stabbed him. You start talking about that day you caught me slipping, you start laughing about it, and you actually become real friends due to that issues of the past. So prison has a way of making the road beef kind of dead, like from the same with the ghetto and the Peckham. A lot of people from ghetto Peckham in prison are best friends, like chatting about this time and that time. And so I think a lot of that kind of has died down. Now it's more about money-orientated youth, drug dealing and...
But what, you talking about the younger generation now?
Today, yeah.
Yeah, so, some of them it is that, but I think the reason why it's going to be more difficult now is because the younger generation, in terms of their gang issues, more people are getting killed. In terms, if you want to call it points, that sort of thought process that some of them use. So, whereas like our generation, in terms of the Peckham and Bricks and stuff, nobody actually got killed that was a gang member. There was innocent, whatever, cool, but not to brush that away. But in terms of actual direct gang members, nobody actually got killed. This era, we're talking about 2 gangs where 3 people on this side got killed, and the other side there's probably 4 or 2. So the battle they're gonna have to deal with in terms of ego and pride. May Allah reward them for those that do it.
Bilal, on your perspective, what's the solution to this now? It's gone to another stage, like you said, but how do we kind of like, you know, resolve these stuff?
We as Muslims or just society in general?
Muslims firstly, and then collectively society.
So I think you know, people like yourself, or even if they're not an imam, there's different Muslim brothers that they have the respect where these young kids actually respect them, are gonna be quite important to sort of get some people to sort of settle their issues between once and amongst each other. But it's not something that could probably be put on social media because we're dealing with a beast now. We're dealing with something that some people can do stuff behind closed doors, but if it's pushed out on social media, they're not hearing it because they're trying to live up to an image that has been pushed out there. So I think it takes people like myself, you know, many of us that are in the room right now, to really play our position and try and sort of squash how much we can. But also with some of them, like with the way things have gotten so worse and stuff, you know, being housed out of the area that they currently live in can help for them. Let's say if they live in Lewisham and then they're being pushed to like Luton or something like that. It's them little things that we might think is little that can allow someone to breathe and just be like, you know what, now I'm out of the area with my family. I don't really need to partake in this anymore, you know, because it's not on my doorstep, or I'm not constantly being reminded and cars come into my house and shootings or whatever. I'm in the place of safety, you know. So yeah, stuff like that, education, training, that sort of thing is going to be quite important to divert them and make them focus on the bigger picture.
Do you think, from, let's say, imam's perspective, religious perspective, that we've sometimes maybe not given them enough, whether it's knowledge or advice or time, so they don't know? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, but I think also, I think with some religious leaders, they kind of need to know how to sort of move with the time. That's not them sort of changing the teachings or what is the actual, you know, belief system, our truth. It's just more about the way the information is given, that being sort of a bit more tailored.
What he's saying, Imam, is you need to do more TikToks. You know, you need to do that kind of stuff.
Like what you're doing, like what you're already doing,
and then the kids can relate to you. You know,
listen, let's not start on a resilient leader right now.
Yeah, but like, you know, I've seen some like imams and stuff, you know, talking to some of the young people, are very much of a thing of, what you're doing is wrong, this is what you're meant to do. Like
judgmental and commanding and stuff.
And you need to create a space for that person to feel they can not really like be themselves in terms of being a role man in front of you, but sort of feeling that they can really talk about the issues that they're going through to create that space
important point,
before, you know, the dawah and whatnot begins, because they need to feel heard. You know, we're dealing with people that are in households where mum is on their case, possibly dad, older siblings. Everybody's always like, you. The whole system is you, but no one's like, let me hear what you've got to say.
That also, I mean, look, it's the prophetic way, akhi. He's giving us companions time. He's taking part in their sadness and their happiness. Yeah, he's kind of listening to them. So, you know, that's the sunnah of the Prophet in approaching. And he's wise. Like, you can't say, day one, stop all of this and do all of this. He's also got a gradual approach in terms of making
baby
certain
steps.
changes.
Yeah.
So that's important. But that leads to, akhi, you know, alhamdulillah, from there, you've actually achieved a lot and be involved in a lot of things. I don't know if you want to mention anything and ask Bilal, akhi.
Yeah, no, I think the next step is you've come out of prison. You said you've left all the road stuff. Cool. How have you left the road now? What's the new steps to leaving the road for you?
So, most important thing is mentally. I just, you know, shut all that down. You know, in terms of the name I was referred to before, just told people start calling me by Bilal now, or, you know, my actual name, Olu, whatever. And then in terms of like how I was carrying myself, being a bit more being a bit more humble, again, being around the right brothers, you know, started to get into work. So I was working construction for a bit. I quit by lunchtime. It was too much. It's bigger than me. I can't. Yeah.
What was the reason for quitting? Because I had a similar story about that. Obviously, you know, I started my own one after that.
Yeah, you brought it back home.
What's your reason for quitting?
Aki, all them poles on the shoulder and stuff like that. There's brothers that can bang that out, but that's why I realised that it's not about like lifting in the gym. There's levels to actual strength. So, yeah, by lunchtime, I just said, this ain't for me. Worked in JD, quit after a day because there was too many people coming in saying, oh, you look so familiar. Like, where do I know you from? So I just said, yeah, you know what, maybe it's best for me to not. Yeah. And then eventually, you know, just started working in retail. But I kind of felt a bit brain dead. I feel with a lot of people that come out of prison, they get pushed into a box, either do construction, personal training, you know, those sort of similar things. But things that people would aspire to be in college and uni, they're not really pushed upon them for them to achieve. So at that time, like I mentioned before about me knowing that I'm a good listener, I started sort of giving emotional support to victims of crime. So there's this charity called Victim Support. That's it.
MashaAllah.
So I started giving support to victims of crime. And then eventually I started doing a level 2 and a level 3 in counselling, you know, because I wanted to be a counsellor at that moment. Worked in fashion for quite a bit as well. And then around 2018, you know, a few people passed away. Especially young people from the estate, and I kind of felt, you know what, like I was very quick to leave that environment, do my own thing, you know, practice better, you know, just being a civilian, that I'm not really trying to devote much more time to those coming on a similar path. So it don't feel really purposeful what I'm doing. And so, just started getting involved in the charity work in terms of being a youth worker, helping kids coming on a similar journey. So helping them with sort of housing support, education, training, apprenticeships, whether if they need to seek some sort of emotional support, like a therapist, that sort of thing, just whatever they need to go through their transition to make their family proud and themselves proud also.
Is that volunteering? Is that actually work you're doing?
Yeah, so it's work that I do. Some of it also involves, in my spare time, a lot of communication with the police. So a lot of trying to make them understand how to deal with young people appropriately. So rather than sort of not treating them as a human being, handcuffing them straight away for stop and search, really understanding that, you know, these are just vulnerable young people that need to
be advising them basically how to treat.
Exactly. So a lot of advisory work with that as well. And as you know, the documentaries, you know, the documentary that I released, that's focused on people coming on a similar path as myself that are now success. But I made sure there was no footballers and rappers. Again...
What was your reason for that?
Because majority of these kids, and even now when I speak to the kids, they just feel that's the only thing they can aspire to. And if it's not that, then it's road.
So you give them another alternative, like business and like...
Exactly.
And so, would you want to take that filmmaking and producing? You got another kind of like a vision?
Yeah, so there's a few other, social issues I want to touch on. But I'm trying to broaden the sort of ideas as well. Because I'm very fond of like understanding people from like different walks of life and their way of living and that sort of thing. So a lot of my time is sort of focused on that as well. So
What about you started a clothing line as well or something?
Yeah. So obviously with that experience with fashion, I was working in like PR and marketing, a bit of creative directing, like fashion shoots and stuff. So eventually with that knowledge and understanding the game and how things go, I developed my own clothing brand. I'm really still working on that as well and trying to push it further and further. So,
Mashallah.
So really and truly just spending a lot of my time on trying to help those coming on a similar journey and trying to make changes within the system as well.
Khair. So finally then, we usually ask, now that you're 29, you're doing your own thing, you're busy, you're trying to be as constructive as you can. Looking back in hindsight then, what is kind of like the key thing you would have told yourself back when you was young kind of thing to, either change that path that you took or whether to stay in a path but maybe some guidance within that path, wherever?
Before that, I would have just told myself, research online. So during school days, I would have said research online or beg the teachers, however way you need to give you a business mentor. Yeah, because
in school days.
Yeah, because they gave me one from uni. I think he was studying like social care or something like that. I think the guy was black. So I think they just gave...
So he's black, he matches you gone.
Yeah. So, he's coming to talk about uni and like whatever his course is. And I'm just like, bro, I know we're the same skin colour, but there's no understanding.
Relation or nothing.
And plus, what you're doing, I don't even care about, So for me, I would have definitely used my mouth to approach the teachers or research online and ask for help. Someone that works in business and say, look, I'm getting in trouble for selling sweets and doing whatever now. How do I make money in this young age legitly and still be able to make my mum proud and stuff as well? But then I think to myself, if that would have happened, how would have I got my calling again to come closer to the deen? Allahu alim. I don't know. So I'm not going to be here to say I wouldn't change anything in my past because I definitely would change a lot of things. But yeah, things happen for a reason as well.
No, man, I hear you, man.
We should get him to the Quran before as well.
Quran, yeah.
Yeah, he's
Mr. On the spot Imam,
Wait, what did you say, sorry?
Ad's done Quran, I think RA done Quran, so...
No, actually, no.
Yeah.
I told you, bro.
I told you. No, I'm saying.
Imam, man, on the spot.
Hey, do you want to do it downstairs?
With RA?
No, Bilal. I thought it was downstairs in the mosque, you didn't want to recite Quran.
No, in general, okay, when it comes to like, I'm very like,
particular.
Like,
He's a private guy. In his house, like, Alhamdulillah. On here, okay, he's being shy, bro. Leave the brother alone, bro.
Yeah, please, Aki, please.
Only the wife can hear him one day, innit?
Inshallah.
When he's leading, inshallah. Khair. Jazakumullah khair, bro. We can keep chatting, but we have a time limit of how long we can talk for. Barakallah feek, may Allah bless whatever you're doing, akhi. Make it fruitful, make the, whatever things you're doing, fi sabilillah, to be something that you take to paradise, inshallah.
Ameen.
Jazakumullah khair. And inshallah, we'll see you in the next one. Assalamu alaikum.